Khalitov, Deputy President, Chairman of the Board of Rostelecom, and one guest has been late, Alexander Zarenin. I hope that he will be able to make it here. Deputy Minister for Digital Technologies. I will be moderating this session. Yakov and partner. I'm a partner at this organization. Alexander, I would like to start with you. Sash, what do you think? What is the place of Russia in the global ecosystem of artificial intelligence, and what barriers are actually not allowing us to move even more ahead in this direction? I think that Russia has quite a considerable contribution to the global ecosystem of artificial intelligence. Because if we speak about development of artificial intelligence in general as a technology, it is being done jointly by all the countries. And if you take any serious work, scientific work, you can see representatives from different countries with representatives of different branch offices. And Russia is also present there. She has a lot of publications, this country. And we are quite in a good position in terms of open sources. So we have different libraries for training, for teaching. They actually are they have been made public. We are open for the whole world. Speaking about our level, I would say that there is a balance between two factors. The first one is the level of scientific development in country, and also the level of implementation. And as for the level of implementation, we are amongst the top 3 countries, and we can compete with the biggest leaders in the world. Everything is happening very quickly in the country, maybe due to the fact that we have very strong developers, maybe because right now, in the moment, we have a very good complementary regulation, especially when it comes to artificial intelligence, which actually stimulates the implementation of this artificial intelligence. So it gives results rather than creates barriers. I think that this is one of our advantages. If we talk about difficulties, then I should say that we have pretty much the same difficulties. They can be more or less pronounced, but still. So just like others, we have a shortage of experts or personnel, high level. As for average experts or specialists, that's fine, but a shortage of really top specialists. And the second point that I would like to bring about, that is infrastructure, and I would say also investment, because technologies based on artificial intelligence, especially as we talk about generative artificial intelligence, in a stage of quite rapid developments. It is right now on the rise, and we, for example, at Yandex, we learn to make money on that, but at the same time, still you have to splash out on it right now, especially if you want to be amongst the leaders. Rates are going up, investment in artificial intelligence going up, and you understand how to generate a profit using your technologies, and also you need electricity, for example, for that. It requires a lot of investments. And that is a problem for everyone, and for us as well, of course. Thank you very much, Sasha. So let's continue. My next question goes to Mr. Ashwi Vaishnav. We know that Indian railways are implementing artificial intelligence very rapidly, and different processes to boost efficiency, to boost safety, security. AI is used for predictive servicing and maintenance, for rolling stocks, for optimizing schedules, to manage passenger flow. But at the same time, there are certain barriers or constraints that do not allow the artificial intelligence to be implemented even faster. Could you tell us what kind of infrastructure or regulation-related constraints you have, and what should be done to overcome them?
Thank you very much. I would like to explain how we are thinking about AI as a country, as India. We think that we should democratize technology, which means technology should be accessible to a very large section of people. the startup ecosystem that we have developed over the last decade, they should get the best of the resources which are available to anywhere. To do that, the way we have structured the entire thing is we created an AI mission, and part of the mission, we developed a very large pool of GPUs. As we speak, we have about 34,000 GPUs, which is a common compute facility available to everybody who wants to use it. Now, this is over and above what is available in the corporate sector. Many private companies are developing their own data centers and hyperscalers. But the facility should be available to a very large section of the society, students, researchers, scholars, startups, everybody, they should be able to get access to it. That is the first thing. Second, we know that AI will be a very different technology compared to what we have seen in the past. The way it should be regulated, the way it should be, the way we should treat it in the society to make sure that we get the benefits while we can prevent the harms of the entire new technology. Our approach is very unique compared to many other countries. Our approach is that we have to adopt a techno-legal approach towards the use of AI, which means many of the harms which come from use of this technology can be solved by using technological means. You cannot solve it by simply creating a new law. That's the approach, and that approach we are implementing using a very large variety of technical institutes who are developing these solutions. For example, one of the IIT, and that approach we are implementing using a very large variety of technical institutes who are developing these solutions. For example, one of the IITs, IIT Jodhpur, is developing a solution for detecting deepfakes. That's the second piece. Third is, while there are large open source models which are available in the entire world today, where we can use them and develop our solutions, we also need models which don't have many of the biases which go into training the models which are trained in other geographies. So how do we prevent those biases? So we are also focusing on developing our own large language models and also very focused models on certain sectors, sector-specific small models, which, as you gave the example of predictive maintenance in railways, as for example, in the grid management, in the power grid management, for example, in healthcare, for example, in education. So very focused models which can then help us solve the problems at a large population scale. That's the third approach. Fourth part of our approach is, today we are having some of the best talent in the world, and as per the global international rankings by Stanford and others, we have the highest concentration of AI talent in the world. But this should be sustained. We must sustain the talent pipeline. So we have changed the entire course curriculum in our engineering and technical institutes. We have taken up talent development at 3 different levels. One is the mass level, where people can understand what is the use of AI, where people can then, for example, data annotation. That's a mass scale. And we have taken up application level, and we have taken up research level. So in a sense, our AI mission is basically looking at 4 different ways by which we are trying to harness the power of this new technology in our society.
Thank you very much. Then let's continue. 2 weeks ago, at a different digital forum, a lot of sessions were dedicated to good collaboration between science, educational establishments, and business. And also companies like Yandex, Sber, some banks. Indeed, interaction between those types of organizations is very important nowadays in order to train and to prepare talented people. Sber, as you know, is building right now a global innovative system with leading research and development institutes and establishments in the world. So it's a partner of 3 intellectual centers of the third wave higher schools of economic, Skolkovo, etc., and 4 centers of artificial intelligence of the second wave state university named after Lobachevskого, Blakhin, Lomonosov, and Samara University. The economic effect from the use and implementation of artificial intelligence in Sber, according to different estimations, as far as I know, is over 1 billion rubles. So, Andrei, I have a question for you. What do you think? How is it possible to create the most efficient synergy between the fundamental science, applied studies, applied, that is a very important word, and business for an accelerated implementation of artificial intelligence in the economy of our country and business?
Thank you so much for your question. I will start answering from the end of this part. Economical effect as to implementation of artificial intelligence in Sber increased 400 billion rubles, and we are proud of the point that last year we started separately calculating, considering our attention to generative AI. We identify effects, and last year we assessed economic effect more than $10 billion, and this year we plan $50 billion so in new technologies. And we believe that together with the generative AI, there is new technological generation, and not only in the sphere of machine learning. Actually, you know, in this or that way, I'm dealing with IT for more than 20 years, and I have never seen all technological landscape to be facing such deep changes. It really changes the very idea, the very basement of information technologies, and it really changes the way we form our expectations to data science. That is still the same as data science, machine learning, but the requirements are changed dramatically. If you want to show yourself, to reveal yourself in the new world, then the guys who can make big fundamental models, you know, many of them, we have quite a young team, and the guys who are doing GigaChat, well, average age of the team is less than 30 years. And sometimes when you call them data scientists, they get offended. They say, why? We're not data scientists. Then who are you? I don't know. I'm an engineer or something like this. Why are they talking like this? They work at the border of deep understanding of mathematics on the one hand, and on the other hand, kind of Olympiad programming. So they know how to use C++, and whatever they do, it's not Python. This is highly loaded systems of huge sizes, where they keep on resolving complicated optimizational tasks, as infrastructure and calculations for this task cost a lot. And here, on the one hand, we see the formation of opportunity, and on the other hand, kind of barrier, which we are trying to overcome in interaction of business and science. Because what should we do? If you are a young data scientist, the whole world is going towards training, optimization, and development of big model, and you do not have such a resource. How are you going to find your application if you do not have infrastructure? One of the tasks that we resolved internally, we realized that our guys, the researchers, should be provided with considerable resources. Otherwise, we will not expect results from them. They cannot resolve these tasks with a notebook and a pen. And that is, this resource is really important, because before, for them to be able to do something for their works, it was sufficient for them to have just one card. But now, as until they have at least one HDX class machine, they will not be able to do anything at all. So what are we doing in this case? We have several partners, research centers, with whom we are cooperating, as you have mentioned, and this is a very serious cooperation. Mostly we work with Skoltech, and also we have our own research department, which considers a long-term theme, institution of artificial intelligence and so on. And we also have a production team which is dealing with the development of the big models. And that creates a chain where we realized that the main secret, once you want to have data exchange, you should identify the plan of scientific and technical development. We have identified several master trends, and we know that researchers can be very independent in the choice of theme and task they are resolving. But we provide priority resources, conversion and support to what correlates to our master lines of development. We have made a framework which is called Practical AGI, and it has a number of tasks which we have to solve in our movement towards artificial intelligence. And within this framework, all the projects are being supported and financed in priority. And thus, you also remember when we made a federal project on artificial intelligence, we had one of the problems that overall we had 25 articles for the whole country, for all of us, dedicated to this topic. 6 years ago, that was one of the key priorities. Why in AI everyone is considering conference? This is independent pre-review. You cannot publish article for money. This is either a good article or it's not good. There are no other options. And there are two more things that I would like to share with you. On the one hand, as we took this in our focus priority, and we published at 91 articles during the previous year. So now we can say that within the 6 years, even one organization in the country publishes like almost 4 times as much as the whole country did 6 years ago. Seems like it's good, but there is a big problem here. Still, the whole country publishes less than only one district in China. And that is a big gap, a huge gap and a big problem. And of course, we should also put a focus on further development. And now there is again a problem. This year, we've got the first historic article, which was written without participation of a human being. And from this point of view, we have something to think about. Because actually, there is a team of researchers and they have such a task. We are not going to write an article. We have a multi-agent system based on AI, which is going to prepare this article. And just in case, it's not like to finalize their work into an article, but to physically arrange a research of this level, which will be done as peer review and published at the conference. So it was prepared. And I think that next year, the number of articles which will be published at these conferences will make a considerable percent out of what is going to be there in general. And in approximately 2027, we will have to reconsider criteria, because with these conferences, everything will be totally different. And actually, there is a big question. What should we do? Should we protect these conferences from the works which were designed by AI without a human being? It's silly, because once it's a good work, it pushes the science forward. Why should we do this? And on the other hand, what should the human guys do, the researchers, the human researchers do? Because artificial intelligence would be much more productive, and the works which shows us different evolutionary algorithms make it possible for us to step-by-step improve different areas of science. Because as long as there is some formulated hypothesis in science or some continuous function which can be double-checked for optimization, I'm firmly convinced that artificial intelligence will solve this task, because the approach is clear. This is, if you will, an approach of root power, but it works. You start choosing algorithm, you choose for better solution, and you double-check the result with which you can compare it. Here, we see a wonderful thing. We are talking about big models, and I think everybody heard the word hallucination. And I really liked that people from DeepMind in their work Alpha and Alpha say that in this work, we say that hallucination is imagination. Why? Because once these models wouldn't have these properties, they wouldn't be able to invent something new every time when they try to resolve a new task. Once the algorithm is determined, it's not capable of evolution. Only deviation, only mutations are capable to show evolution. And such a property of a model as imagination or mutation bring us to the point that we can arrange an evolutionary system. So getting back, just not to take a lot of your time, well, on the one hand, nobody revealed any new secret of success. We should focus on development of applied fundamental science and learn how to work in research teams united by the same goal and area. On the other hand, in this team, there is a new participant, so that is AI. And these participants of the team requires attention, requires different approaches, and it will considerably change the way we're going to see the science in the nearest 2 or 3 years. And it is changing the science in the sphere of AI, which is logical. Thank you. Thank you so much. I was just thinking that probably in 10 years, with the consideration of this trend to write different articles, possibly it will not be us who will be here at the conference, but they will be our digital avatars. And instead of us, they will be inventing theses. It never happened that with new technologies' appearance, people or scientists would lose work fundamentally. Can you imagine the modern science of the previous decades, which is working without computer? Well, this is oxymoron. We do not say that now computer can calculate everything and scientists have nothing to do. No, the work is changing. This type of work is changing. And those who got used to work in old-fashioned manner, they will be behind. And what is being behind for the science? The scientist will become irrelevant. A scientist wants to work with some idea, wants to dedicate his life to this, but in 1 year, somebody already resolved this task, within 1 year only. So let him imagine some new idea. We had a case in Yandex when the founder of Yandex supplied kerosene to the team of geologists, and they said, oh, well, help them with calculations. And guides worked like this. Half a year, they prepared some experiment which should have some calculations in it. They started this, and while they were preparing for the next, the previous one was calculated for half a year. We allowed them to go to our data center. They started the experiment in 7 minutes instead of 6 months. They got their results. They were shocked. They didn't know what they can do further on with this speed. So I agree with you. In order not to find ourselves in the same situation, we should use modern technologies. Yes, thank you, dear colleagues. Well, today we have already touched upon the topic of regulation. We have mentioned that in general, well, it was quite beneficial for the development of technologies. However, at the international landscape, we can see kind of a light being more severe. Digitalization of requirements to life cycle, labeling that happened in China, the USA, Canada, and other countries. There is digitalization of more comprehensive legislative acts in different countries of the world. In Russia, nevertheless, currently, in my opinion, the regulation was quite adequate. Alexander, in this respect, I have a question to you. You also represent state structures. What do you think? How regulation in Russia in the sphere of artificial intelligence should evolutionize? Should anything change? Maxim, first and foremost, I should say that I believe your annual session at SPIEF helps all of us to see the evolution of artificial intelligence regulation. And thank you for holding this session for 3rd year already. And every time, I tell you honestly, I get prepared for this session. I see evolution of the regulation all over the world, and I think that is great experience. Well, frankly speaking, today I can openly say that I'm satisfied that within 3 years we have not done anything in regulation. 1 year ago, it seemed to us that we should deal with international institutions. 2 years ago, it seemed to us that we should deal with own regulation. 3 years, Russia has not changed anything in regulation dramatically. Really helps us to develop technologies, not only because that is kind of passed to our IT giants, but also because within the previous year, well, I disagree with you, Maxim, we see complete deregulation of the market all over the world. Trump abolished there was strict regulation at Biden, and with Trump, he said now artificial intelligence is everything, and we actually change situation. There is a very severe AI Act which came into power in 2024. Correct me if I'm wrong. If it's not suspended, then it is deregulated. We do not know what's happening in China. Well, probably we know what's happening in China, judging by these complicated white books and everything, some complicated story, at least what we see publicly. But we understand that the development of startups that we witness in China states that they do not have problems with regulations. The right startups develop correctly in the amount that is required. And the most important thing, you remember the previous year, UN or Guterres even stated that we need to start regulating AI at the global level, otherwise we will face risks that we all know. Well, but they didn't agree about anything until now, and it's quite obvious that if now we hurry too much with some severeness, and we are a good professional at making it worse, we can damage our IT giants, and globally we will not be able to influence our own market, because objectively, no matter how severe Roskomnadzor is fighting with some sites, still people find ways to avoid these limitations. This is about basic trends, regulation. But I would like to attract your attention to the events that happened within the previous 2 weeks, which in my mind form an absolutely new trend in artificial intelligence. 1 year ago, we were waiting for AGI. Today, within the last 2 weeks, the following thing happened. Two events which are seemingly not related, but GPT chat starts 04 Pro, right? OpenAI Pro, and Altman makes an article, a manifesto, tender singularity. There are a lot of words, but being a politician, I remembered one phrase, that all these changes that take place in artificial intelligence can result in the appearance of new political ideas, which we could never imagine, which we could have never imagined before, and which will result in the establishment of a new treaty. Well, society initially will not accept this public treaty, but they will have nothing to do, and I think that in this session will lack representatives of the services responsible for constitution and the protection of constitution implementation, because with these guys, with these statements, the guys are aiming in that, because what are new political ideas and new public agreement which we are not going to accept?
It looks like a manifesto of a communist party in the 19th century. Maybe I'm wrong, but we should definitely take a look at that, the whole story. And the second thing that is happening, so yesterday or the day before yesterday, Maxim, Chinese startup, Alibaba is the main shareholder there, is now actually releasing models with different millions of tokens, but it's not the most important thing. The most important thing, they say that they spent 3 weeks on that model and $500,000. From my perspective, we all discussed in DeepSeek some time ago about a $10 million investment, and now we say that in order to create a completely new model in artificial intelligence, that's actually well, actually, you need $500,000. So that's it. So video cards, for example, you can do it very simply, like I don't know, 15 or 12 video cards, and 2 or 3 weeks. That's what they said. So, in every garage, for example, tomorrow, it will be possible to create an AR model, and I don't know how it will be regulated and how to work with this kind of regulation. I would think about some other things. We have some ideas about how to regulate that, but I would draw attention to 2 points. Number one, so if certain points already have fantasies about new public agreements, and our constitutional right to labor and artificial intelligence will be gradually stealing it from us, then probably we need to put taxes on them for that, and for the fact that they are actually going to make money on us. And you know, in fact, Altman says that public agreements could change the order, but they don't want to pay taxes, those companies. Pillar 1, Act number 1 against IT giants, so it has been discussed for 5 years already. Still, now it has not been launched, put into effect, and American giants did everything they could in order to stop it a little bit. And I think from this perspective, we in the country should be protected against that. I would like to say that Matvienko, one of our national leaders, in 2001 said that we need to have our analog equivalent of Pillar Rider. And it's not an instrument against our IT companies, but still we should have an opportunity to at least to attribute some taxes to IT, global IT giants. They should pay taxes when they want, especially to come back. And when they decide to come back, we should have instruments to collect that price, those taxes from them for their development against human labor. And so they should start paying, I think. We at the Federation Council, we have already prepared a draft law of such an initiative. We forwarded it to Ministry of Finance last year. I should think that governments definitely must think about that. We should have such a tax in Russia. It should appear in Russia. Pillar Pillar 2. So we are talking about equivalent to Pillar 2, but now equivalent to Pillar 1 should also be discussed. With all my due respect to IT giants, point number 2. So I'm in Russia, but I think I haven't seen such kind of startups in Russia that could compete, or abroad that could compete with our giants like Tinkoff, Sber, Yandex, and other big players. And from this perspective, I think it's a question more about for regulation provided by the anti-monopoly departments. So our colleagues from India have just said that they are now creating big server platforms for everyone and for also IT startups so that they can get developed. Maybe I don't know something, but I think that those students sitting right now in universities, they also want to get access to those 512 cards and videos in order to create their own Russian mini-Macs. I think that Yandex, Sber, and consortium should give them this opportunity to do that. At least they should think about that. Probably also anti-monopoly department should also think about that. What can we regulate? I would say that what we are doing right now, it's an issue of intellectual property. Right now, we can see that we have a sprawl of content generated by AI, but as for payments that should be made to the owners or holders of this content, it hasn't been solved yet. Of course, public information, for example, is processed by a model, creates songs based on the songs by other singers. But what about the risks? What if the singer comes over and says, please pay me for my rights? I actually initially created that, and it's not regulated anyhow. We are working with colleagues on that, trying to find a way out. And the last thing, Yandex, Sber, T-Bank. So let's just come up with some kind of labeling. We shouldn't actually prescribe it, but I think you have all it takes to do that, and you should also be interested. Just a couple of words, okay? Honestly speaking, I just wanted to thank you. We lucky enough today for the fact that today in Russia, representative of legislative branch of power, people like you, well, we can see that you pay attention to that, so that it's important for everyone. You are really digging deeper into the matter. And when we just started, the first model was issued in 2023, our model. And the first thing that we received, of course, they are were a lot of, particular remarks, so to speak, tricky, there were those people who actually protect us. They are on our position. General Prosecutor's Office, for example, surprisingly enough, but still, General Prosecution Office, they are there to actually to defend us. They are on our side, because when the first model appeared, a lot of people sent their letters to the General Prosecutor's Office with complaints, and then they decided to step in this office, and they started to learn about practices, about models, etc. They organized sessions for such people just to explain everything. So they try and help us to eliminate certain barriers. And those barriers still appear. Sometimes people say that, yes, model just makes mistakes, wrong color or something else, different complaints. But we have proper legal regimes right now in Russia, and thanks to them, we also can feel this help, this assistance. We can also develop our models and our technologies thanks to these people. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. And just one small comment without any additional details. M-video equipment is not allowed to be imported in Russia, not by us, of course. We did not take this decision, and it's also the case for China. HS 800 cards. This is just a limited version of F-media. Previously, it was allowed to import that in Russia, but right now we have the following problems. Chinese people who publish an article, they cannot actually write and say what they use, because it's no longer allowed to use what they actually use. So we live in right now in the world of a kind of a distortion. You should be able and know how to read between the lines, so to speak. For example, DeepSeek. There are certain nuances to that. First, what does it take to make a model? I can take one final cycle of model learning at the end, after all my tests and experiments and mistakes, and there are a lot of them, and say, for example, that's how it cost me to accomplish this learning, or share some results. And I wouldn't say that I would be incorrect in this situation, but it's not about that. It's not about this work and what it means. I mean, this block of work. We need to understand that. And another thing, good thing about DeepSeek, right now they also use Chinese equipment. That is a little bit behind from NVIDIA, but they are searching for some non-standard engineering solutions that allow to compensate for certain deficits where needed. Of course, that is quite a good approach, but still, it's the other side of the matter that creates a fundamental, full-fledged basis for the learning infrastructure and further usage of the model. We have NVIDIA, and we have a number of other American companies that have something on this matter. We understand the video right now in the leader. It's a leader not only because of good equipment. We also have Miele company, which also has very good equipment, a good framework to create such models. And when people do something right now in the world, they exchange expertise, and so they're all based on those frameworks. And Chinese people, they repeated that. Right now, they have CAN as an alternative to CUDA and video. So for over 13 million developers, Chinese developers can work on that right now. So this is actually the force that could be a kind of counterweight to all that. And we, of course, right now need to work on that, not only on American frameworks that we got used to it, but also with Chinese ones. That is second aspect we should bear in mind to read between the lines when, hear these talks about who bought where and what. Do you know, previously we had a rating of supercomputers, and everyone tried to leave this feedback, what kind of computer you have. Right now, all the companies, more productive companies with better computers than before, they don't write about that. That is just for your information. Just something what colleagues actually wanted to thank you for IRI. I don't know how funding is organized there, but so they announced the first Russian model of LAI, FLE. So I wanted to think about the following thing. Probably we cannot have a breakthrough in video cards, but probably we could do it in some software operating on those video cards at a lower level. We have always been strong in that. So probably we could search for points of growth in that direction. Very interesting. We have a really live, vivid discussion. Thank you very much for that. Still, I suggest that we should stick to our timing for the session. Telecom industry. We know that telecom industry also plays a big role in the development of digitalization in the country, implementation of artificial intelligence. Also, from the point of view of developing infrastructure that we need, Rostelecom is one of the leading providers of digital services for the population, and also one of the major players within the IT infrastructure market. Daria, I have a question for you. So, from your perspective, what are the key tasks we have right now for Russia in the terms of developing technological infrastructure? Good morning. Well, that is quite a big question. I think that we partially have already covered that. I think that if artificial human being or artificial intelligence was a human being, well, they will feel ashamed because right now we speak so much about artificial intelligence. Of course, we say that it's a very perspective one in Russia and in the world, but we understand why we are talking about it so much and why the whole world actually stay focused and apply the implementation of this technology. But speaking about artificial intelligence based economy, so the one that is based, yes, artificial intelligence, we should say that there should be some basic fundamental conditions, say secured data and good internet. Simply speaking, quality communication and proper infrastructure. Last year, we, while forming our own strategy of the group of companies Rostelecom to develop artificial intelligence technologies, we also analyzed the markets. We looked at the global capacity in different parts of the world where they dominate. Right now it's China and the United States, of course, but we also studied the Russian market and we looked at the capacity that we have and how the market will be developing. So according to our estimation, by 2030, the overall capacity in terms of the cards, etc., will grow by 8 times, and for Russia it will be 80-90 million video cards. I would say that it's a growth from 10,000 in 2024. That is our estimation. It was based on open data, but that's considerable growth. It's an 8-time growth. And here the major task that we have: how can we support that exponential growth, this number of requests for this computational power capacity that we need? Of course, we need certain solutions and services based on artificial intelligence. Of course, we have giant technological giants developing general generative networks, but also we also have additional needs for executive industry, for different industries in general, using different models and also applied solutions based on artificial intelligence.
This is number one. And number two, how at the same time we can sustain balance between the increase of data volume, which is required for for the learning of artificial intelligence. If artificial intelligence were a human and could joke, first and foremost, he would ask a simple question: why am I not updated? Well, we do produce generatives, but we have to teach and teach them, and for that quite a big volume of calculation capacity is required. And the second thing is how to sustain balance between the increased volume of data required for teaching of the existing neural networks and enrichment of those used for different researches, the data massives. And the third part is how to provide for cybersecurity for all this data. I think these are the main challenges. And number three, Alexander has mentioned it, of course, we need personnel for that. And these are quite commonplace things. I saw representatives from India decided to Google and to Yandex, I'm sorry, not to Google, but to Yandex, and see what is the role of India in AI. And I saw saw that there is a very interesting thing. India takes the first place in the world as to the level of penetration of skills in artificial intelligence. Even in front of the USA, the level of digitalization and penetration of digital skills and also skills in AI is unprecedentedly high in India. And the third thing is related to AI in Russia should be focused on mass penetration of AI technologies. And I think that huge work is being done about this by colleagues from Yandex. In GigaChat, there is a big number of different services popularizing the usage of AI technologies for population. As to Rostelecom, as to us, Rostelecom is a group of company, 110,000 employees inside. We use our own product, which is called Neuroschluss or Neuro Gateway. 30,000 of our employees are using it on daily basis. This is kind of unified platform and designer of different open source neural networks, our own LLM networks, generative networks such as GigaChat and Yandex GPT for the employees in their daily routine could improve their efficiency as to time management, performance of different internal business processes with artificial intelligence. The third aspect for scaling is what should happen on a mass basis, the penetration of AI technologies in our life and work. Thank you. So now let's discuss international cooperation. In our opinion, its role with the development of artificial intelligence all over the world is growing as well. Alok, what do you think? Which of BRICS countries in particular?
Everybody, thanks Maxim for inviting me in this session with the Captain of Industries and our Honorable Minister. He is also a technocrat, and our Honorable Ambassador is also the technocrat. So it's a good platform to discuss what's well, overwhelmed to economic growth for all the countries, and they
of BRICS countries in particular.
Everybody, thanks Maxim for inviting me in this session with the Captain of Industries and our Honorable Minister. He is also a technocrat, and our Honorable Ambassador is also the technocrat. So it's a good platform to discuss what is going on, not only in India, on the BRICS. AI are transforming business and, well, overwhelmed to economic growth for all the countries. And there are two usages, the technological sovereignty and to be sustainable of technology. So we have to have some framework together so that any product which is at the platform, it is sustainable for all the countries, and it's on the open sources. So our idea on the BRICS working group, what we are discussing on the joint research innovation, data governance, joint research and innovation on these platforms, and data governance and sovereignty of the open sources, and ethical AI standard to be there so that all country between us understand how to cooperate each other on these platforms. BRICS ethological, there is also a challenge because there is the language challenge, which is still, if you put all these AI resources, only they find from the English language, they compile the information. We need to break up this also. There is sectorial applications on the health sector, agriculture, smart cities, which can be prolongated on the different modes so that these open sources can be used by the other countries also. Surely the regulatory alignment is there. You see, when the internet came, there was no no rule. This is an open platform. Yeah, everyone can go there and use these platforms how they want. So we need to have some regulatory for these platforms so that people have some limited access on the people what they need. Yeah. So what is now our friend from Tinkoff Bank or Sberbank is using the data sources which get the credit facility in 10 minutes or 20 minutes. But all these data should be not open at all. India is doing a lot. Our Honorable Minister has put lots of effort to digitalization in India. And we have more than 3 to 4 times citizens access to the internet, or almost 750 million might be or more access the internet every day. So these things had to be taken care very carefully. You can't move on the road without traffic rules. There are lots of challenges which can be taken care when we jointly work on the same platform. Yes, open resources is needed, and such, sovereignty of technology is also needed. But when we work together on the open resources, open sources, it will help to develop the society. Surely, in the conclusion, my focusing in these pillars, BRICS can change a global South AI governance model. Our Prime Minister has just in G20 issued a platform for AI, so for the open resources. I think we have to work together to make sustainable technology for access for the whole peaceful country. Thank you.
Спасибо большое.
Thank you so much. A very interesting idea on the prospect of international cooperation. Now let's move on to a more to harder industry, so to speak. Automation in this or that way in the productive industries started back quite a long time ago. Different tools of automation monitoring, on the one hand, made it possible to save or to increase efficiency or to raise security in production. Zyfra company is also developing quite a big volume of different solutions on monitoring, on integration with ERP systems, visualization, analysis of production data. Still, what are further prospects for AI development? Has anything changed with generative AI, for instance, and how implementation is being done currently? Thank you for your question. Good morning, dear colleagues. Being a company Zyfra or Digit, we get specialized in digitalization of production processes. We gain a lot of data from equipment, from different hardwares, from machine, and with this data we try to manage production cycle. The data we work with is very actively related to physical and chemical processes in production. So the usage of generative AI for now, in my opinion, and as we could see practically, is almost impossible. All the technologies that are used there are strict models, mainly that is machine learning. And within the last several years, we made several dozens of cases with the usage of this technology, starting from predictive analytics to turbines of different pumps and recommendations to the truck drivers, operators of furnaces, or synthesis column in different areas. So, and in all these cases, we see some effect is reached. However, this effect is very hard to be scaled. They are very individual. They are very much related to specific technological process, specific machine, and a specific location. And trust of people who are local engineers is not that high. So in production processes, generative AI is not present yet. At the same time, our largest clients actively use generative AI, mostly in business processes or office processes, let's call it like this, in the processes of logistics, back office processes. And there are a lot of cases and applications, and Dmitry knows about this, and he can talk about this. And I believe that for industry, it's very important, well, for facilitation of usage of artificial intelligence, it's very important to try to learn to manage AI based on data. As long as we have clients and we have connected everything possible, we collect any data in any way. But the higher we raise the information about this data, there is Excel, there is telephone, there is something which was mentioned orally, and data management is distorted. Once we learn how to do it so that people on top would be based on data collected from machines below, and this is a huge area for efficiency, that would be better. With Sber, we signed an agreement at Digital Forum, and in production management systems, they try to use GigaChat so that the managers would find it easier to deal with technological data in absolutely clear language, to make requests and share information. Basically, we have piloted this at one of the cases, and this gives obvious effect. And this dialogue makes a machine and a human being, it makes them closer. The second story I would like to mention. Currently, a regulation of standards, collection of industry data in our country is not present. And this industry data is gathered anyhow, not formalized, in a different way, in big number, and mainly for the usage of the models. It's not always clear what can be done with this. And as to machine building, we monitor quite a big number of machines with the calculation built-in services, which is critically important for our country and machine building in general. And in Ministry of Industry and Trade, there is a center established of practical usage of AI, and we have agreed and we have learned to gather data of clear format from any machines and make them so that they would not have any confidential information, and we agreed to send them to the Center of Artificial Intelligence so that we would be able to arrange typical models for predictive diagnosis to make such cases. And this story with depersonalization of industrial data and using of those for this kind of models is quite a good driver for more active application of these stories in industry. But as to prospective technologies, in the nearest future, this story with digital twins will be one of the most front-end stories. Now many projects are called like this, I would put it like this, and such like projects are started, and we made a digital twin of gas condensate field, where we can model a story in real time as to what if, how to better rearrange the operation of not specific plant or machine, but the whole unit which is extracting gas condensate, and the effect will be at totally different levels. So digital twins is something that industry needs. Thank you. Thank you so much. So now, let's continue.
So, as Yakov and partner, last year we questioned like over 100 CEOs from big companies, and we asked them what kind of solutions based on generative artificial intelligence they use. And they identified three major models in separate cases. So it's enough to use basic fundamental model, so it's enough to cope with major tasks. And the second type, when you buy some kind of a box solution from some providers and also from technological pharmaceutical companies. And also third option, and a lot of people go there, this is customization with fundamental model learning. So, Dmitry, what kind of strategy for implementing artificial intelligence is the most efficient now and also in future, considering perspectives for the development, learning, etc., and for also scaling up, etc., also of the learning process? Good morning, dear colleagues. Thank you very much, Maxim, for the invitation. Artificial intelligence at 9 a.m., it means for those who are very strong spiritually. Thank you very much for coming over and being here in the morning. So we are now today in the field talking about very important things. Now our main mission is to implement generative artificial intelligence in various spheres, industry, public management, healthcare system. And in order to move faster, we need to understand for the business, the key factor is the speed of reaction to changes, the speed of movement. And of course, while implementing generative AI, right now it is developing much faster than in previous revolution. So its speed becomes a really critical factor. And it's very important to walk this path with those partners who have already accumulated certain expertise and experience. Our example for implementing last year this model in one of petrol holdings. So we started with 150 hypotheses that we got from the clients, and out of them 50 turned out to be viable and only 4 demonstrated very good result. It took us 6 months to do that. A lot of people were involved in that. So can we walk this path on our own? Yes, of course. Can we repeat it? Yes, but it would be more efficient to do it with those partners who have already walked this journey and can share some expertise. Also, it's very important to combine expertise of model developers, I mean those people who can implement that, and representative of the industry. This is something that was said by Mikhail. It's, for example, we signed agreement with a company called Zyfra and Sber, and there we united 4 types of expertise: basic model development, industrial expertise, and implementation expertise. But model is not a solution itself. I prepared a slide for you. Can you share it, please? Can you please share my slide? So here is the slide. On this slide, you can see just another example of generating AI in medicine. Just wanted to announce at the Almazov Center in St. Petersburg, together with Sber Health Center, we are now working of GigaChat, generative artificial intelligence in the initial stage of healthcare system, when the doctor can interact with the patient. Then this speech is registered, then medical record is filled in, and doctor can ask questions regarding the healthy records, etc. So here you see this some of the square. Model itself is really important, and in this case we decided to take a GigaChat. You know that the model provided by Sber, it is accredited for medical establishment, and they have gone through a big number of exams, and it was in our priority. Even though GigaChat is a multimodal model and can work with voice patterns, with images, and with text, here we have no less than 4 models artificial intelligence and a lot of different squares. Yes, model is a very important thing, and when you come up with a certain industrial solution, you have to understand what kind of model you use and what's the difference between open source model from open source software. When you take open source software, you take a code, you're satisfied with that, and then it's fine. When you get an open source model, you get a code, but you don't get the most important thing, that pre-train that this model was trained on. And actually, you cannot guarantee anything. You don't understand when this model will switch from Russian to Chinese, when it just stop and start giving you some irrelevant feedback. And our main task of our public management and state sector is to structure that. Of course, we have local software experts who can evaluate software. But right now in this register, we also have models that are based on open source, but then it gets additional learning and additional data. And it's at the level of regulation. We want to have some kind of a matrix just to see that this model is not just an open source with a different name, but a model that was created in Russia, where we have controlled pre-trained and we can confide in this model. Of course, another important factor is that some customers, approximately 90% of our implementations are pre-prem, so we supply it to the customer directly to their site. So it means that the data is secured. It does not leave the control of the client. Then we select a model out of others. We work with all the models present right now in the markets. We have quite a big project right now with a big transport company where we have two models, GigaChat and Yandex GPT models. And also our platform actually is responsible for taking an integrated solution. Why is platform crucial and important? Of course, we have a lot of squares here. Can we assemble it ourselves, of course, or for example, a database like that. We can work with all those components, but it takes time, resources. You should be able to work with those constituent parts, and again, time is very important, as well as speed. And on top of that platform is there available for a lot of mature players, it allows to automate GNI inside your company. So apart from integration with different systems, it allows also employees at their organization to work with agents and tell them how to work with their tasks. With a bit of customization, changing some prompts, and employees, they can work with different agents, create new ones, and of course it speeds up implementation of GNI in any organizations. A lot was said about real infrastructure because products cannot be scaled up without proper infrastructure. Andrei and Daria talked about that. That's a very important thing. Just to summarize the whole thing, I'd like to say that, of course, I think that those who will allocate time, resources, and other resources for GNI developments and exploration rather than other things, they will win. We need to concentrate on that, on using it, on boosting business, on speeding up. You should also work with other partners who have already accumulated expertise there. Thank you very much. Synergies are very important. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. We are still waiting for one speaker. Seems like join us very quickly. So we're going to have some questions right now, very shortly. Andrei shared a very interesting example today. It was said that some scientific articles are being written today by artificial intelligence. Colleagues, maybe you have some other example, Andrei, Alexander, or some other colleagues, where artificial intelligence in the near future will be used in those areas where we didn't expect, so we didn't see a meaning of artificial intelligence or potential usage of artificial intelligence. Misha has just shared a very good example with production side. I think that production, it's this is exactly where artificial intelligence should be used, the very right place. So I have been very much driven by the following thing. Started from last year, we started to work on generative designing. A very simple idea. Seems like, yes, very often when people look at sketches or drawings, it's a graphic representation for us so that we can understand what actually happening behind. But from the point of view of a machine, it's just a file. It's a text or a code. And correspondingly, models are really good at that. They know how to work with that. There is no need even to learn them to see a lot of drawings. It should be taught to understand how to work with such drawings. We we created an open model, so we open sourced that, but because this is a sphere, special sphere, this is a multimodal modality model, and we added there a cloud of points. So when you scan a model with a laser scan, it is then presented in the form of dots or points, and then you scan the model, and you have this cloud of dots, and also have detailed description of the model. So model at the end gives a 3D structure for the program. And what do? We do that. We take this 3D, and we also use description and GigaChat as our fundamental model, and then we make an agent based on that uses this 3D format and details, and prepare a code for producing detail. So that is full cycle. We have detail, 3D scan, 3D model, then a complicated one. So well, we really need it in the country. That's a complicated task. We need a lot of time for each operation, but the most important thing happened later. We now took this model and we decided to add evolution more algorithm there. So we attach it to the model, and then it starts to actually evaluate. To develop, just to so it will be changing different spheres, machine making industry, a lot of things. When we start to focus more on generative designing, then we will see a sprawl of this kind of approaches all around. So I would look at this from different angle. There are some other spheres, for example, slow motion or low motion, just small movements. So I think that systems based on artificial intelligence are not that based on artificial intelligence, not that efficient. For example, right now it's easier than any student can do that. For example, create a program that plays chess, and it is better, does better than any kind of a chess player. But they haven't been able to create, you know, a hand of such a chess player who could do that. I mean, this, you know, these slow movements are produced by a real human body, and so far it is not possible how to repeat that. As for the rest of the cases, if somewhere artificial intelligence is not used or does not generate a proper result, etc., then probably we did not actually find a way how to apply that in practice. So it seems to us that what we can see right now against the current background or development, we cannot really come up with this pace and the speed, and we cannot maintain this speed in terms of application or implementation in practice. And if it doesn't work, then we haven't actually come up with a final solution. Thank you very much. So, dear colleagues, if you already need to go, then you can go. Dmitry, Mikhail, probably you have some examples. And everybody starts to leave. So, colleagues, if you don't have anything else to share, then I think that it's time to finish our session, and let's just take a group picture.